Once upon a time, a young man named Hunter had a job as a dairy manager at a Reese's grocery store in Oklahoma. One day, he received a call on the store phone from his friend Relax King. Hunter was surprised to hear from him, as they hadn't spoken in a while. As the call went on, Hunter realized it was just a prank call, and he became increasingly frustrated and angry. Eventually, in an outburst of rage, Hunter set the store on fire, causing significant damage to the building. Local authorities were quickly alerted and managed to contain the fire, but not before the entire store suffered significant damage. Fortunately, no one was injured and the cause of the fire was quickly discovered. Hunter was arrested and charged with arson and reckless endangerment, and now faces serious legal consequences for his actions. In the aftermath of the fire, Hunter's family and friends were shocked by his actions. Many believed that he was struggling with underlying emotional issues and needed help. Relax King expressed remorse for making the prank call, stating that he never intended for things to go this far. The community rallied around both families, offering support and resources during this difficult time. As Hunter sat in his jail cell reflecting on what had happened, he realized how quickly a moment of anger can spiral out of control. He began attending counseling sessions while awaiting trial, determined to understand himself better so history wouldn't repeat itself. Eventually, Hunter accepted responsibility for his actions in court. Though sentenced to prison time followed by probation upon release, along with strict mental health requirements, he used those years constructively, reading books about emotional regulation and writing letters apologizing sincerely not only to Relax, but also employees whose livelihoods were disrupted. Years later, after serving his sentence fully and maintaining steady progress through therapy, Hunter reconnected cautiously with members from the community, including some former co-workers who chose forgiveness over bitterness. He didn't return directly into grocery management, but instead volunteered locally, helping young adults navigate personal crises before they escalated, like his did all those years ago, under fluorescent lights, deep within aisles stacked high with milk cartons once managed so carefully by hands now wiser because of flame-lit mistakes, long since extinguished only through truth's patient grace. After his release, Hunter found purpose in mentoring youth, sharing his experiences and lessons learned. He worked closely with schools and local organizations, speaking candidly about the dangers of anger and the importance of self-reflection. With each story shared, Hunter hoped to prevent others from walking down a similar path towards destruction. The community slowly welcomed him back, albeit with caution. Hunter understood that trust is earned slowly, and that he must remain committed to change. Relax King, now deeply remorseful, made amends with Hunter and joined efforts to mentor youth, realizing the impact of careless actions. Hunter had become increasingly frustrated with Tucker Carlson's segment on his podcast where he had ridiculed him and called him a crazy, lunatic man-child. After trying to reach out to Carlson through emails, which went unanswered, Hunter decided to take matters into his own hands. One evening, in a fit of anger, he decided to pay a visit to Carlson's house unannounced. Stood outside, Hunter pounded on the front door, waiting for Carlson to answer. When Carlson finally opened the door, he was surprised to find Hunter standing there, visibly upset and fuming. Without any hesitation, Hunter began berating Carlson for his comments and demanding he take down the segment immediately. Carlson tried to defend himself and calm Hunter down, but Hunter was determined to get his point across. As the argument heated up, Carlson's neighbors started to take notice and gathered around to see what the commotion was all about. It quickly became a tense scene, with people gathering and trying to defuse the situation. Despite the growing attention, Hunter continued his tirade, becoming increasingly more aggressive with his words and body language. Carlson attempted to de-escalate the situation, but Hunter was too far gone in his anger. Hunter, consumed by anger and desperate to silence his online tormentor, made a bold move. He grabbed a nearby milk carton with a secret substance tucked inside, gasoline concealed within. When the moment came, he acted swiftly, unleashing its fiery contents onto Tucker's unsuspecting presence. In a sudden and tragic turn of events, this ignited a blaze that ended Tucker's life instantly. Following the tragic incident, Hunter fled the scene, quickly jumping into his '23 Chevrolet Blazer and speeding away, disappearing into the night in a desperate bid for freedom. However, Hunter's reckless actions didn't go unnoticed. Police were alerted and soon the search for him intensified. Law enforcement agencies were put on high alert, with all available resources dedicated to tracking down the fugitive responsible for the brutal crime. Hunter's escape, at first, proved successful as he navigated through winding streets and back alleys to evade the initial pursuit. However, as hours turned into days, the search for him became relentless. Local and federal authorities left no stone unturned, combing through every detail provided by witnesses or captured on surveillance cameras. Hunter's face was plastered all over news networks nationwide, increasing the difficulty for him to blend in and evade detection. His Chevrolet Blazer soon became a liability, drawing unwanted attention from people who quickly identified it as the getaway vehicle. Hunter, desperate to evade increasing police scrutiny, made a decision in the heat of the moment. Searching for a suitable vehicle to replace his recognizable 2023 Chevrolet Blazer, he spotted a 2002 Monte Carlo parked nearby. Despite the risks, he forced entry into the car and quickly hot-wired it to start. With newfound wheels, he set his sights on the Canadian border, hoping to find sanctuary and a chance to start afresh in a foreign land. The long drive north became a test of both his resourcefulness and determination. Along the long, winding roads, his mind raced with thoughts of freedom and a renewed sense of purpose. Crossing borders and evading authorities became his singular focus, as every mile brought him closer to a new life. The vast open roads offered some solace, but Hunter's anxieties remained ever present as he drew closer to the border. During his journey, Hunter found himself navigating through unfamiliar terrain, dodging checkpoints and carefully staying off major highways. Exhaustion began to set in, taking a toll on his focus and alertness. It became a game of cat and mouse, with authorities closing in on one side and the promise of freedom just beyond his reach. As dawn broke on the final stretch, Hunter finally approached a remote border crossing. With his heart pounding and hands gripping the wheel, he prepared for one last gamble, a bid for freedom in a new land where no one knew his name. But just as hope flickered on the horizon, headlights flared behind him. Blue and red lights pierced through the morning fog. The chase wasn't over yet. Tears flooded Hunter's eyes as he finally yielded to the lone police car behind him. In that moment, he thought about the kids he had mentored, wondering how they'd take the news of his actions. Determined to make amends, he pulled over, his sobs echoing through the quiet morning. As he looked at the rearview mirror, a mix of emotions washed over him when he recognized a familiar face, Jenny Hall, his ex-girlfriend. Jenny approached the vehicle, her expression turning from surprise to genuine concern upon realizing her former partner's identity. "Hunter?" she said softly, flashlight in hand, her voice trembling slightly. "Oh my God, what are you doing?" He couldn't speak at first, just shook his head, tears streaming down his face. The weight of everything came crashing down. The fire at Reeser's, the rage toward Tucker Carlson that had consumed him all over again, the desperate run north. "I messed up," he finally choked out. I didn't want to hurt anyone else. I thought running was the only way." Jenny knelt beside the open driver's window instead of calling for backup. She looked into his eyes, the same eyes that once lit up talking about helping kids, and saw not a fugitive, but someone broken and trying to find his way back. "You don't have to run anymore," she whispered. "Not from me." Jenny's hand gently rubbed his shoulder, the same soft touch he hadn't felt in years. And for a moment, the world went quiet. Memories flashed through Hunter's mind, late-night drives in her old Monte Carlo, the way she'd laugh when he rolled terrible dice at D&D sessions she forced him into. "You're socially stunted, Hunter. This'll help." He remembered how she mocked his passion for filming grocery store content on YouTube, calling it sad and cringe, until one day he just stopped. No more uploads, no more voice, just silence, and a loneliness that settled deep. She made him delete everything. And now here she was, not as an enemy, not as a ghost from the past, but standing beside him again, uniformed and real. Then, click, the driver's door opened suddenly. Hunter flinched violently, heart slamming into his ribs. The spell broke. Jenny stepped back slightly at his reaction but kept her hands visible. "Hey," she said calmly. "I'm not gonna tase you or cuff you yet, just wanted to open the door so we could talk face to face." Her voice wasn't cold, it was careful. "I know what you've been doing out there," she continued softly. "The mentoring stuff. I saw one of your school talks online last year." She almost smiled. "You were really good at it." A beat of silence hung between them, one full of regret, history too tangled to unravel in a single night. Finally, "I don't want to run anymore," Hunter whispered again. This time, He meant it. Jenny watched the raw emotion wash over Hunter's face, the years of pent-up frustration and pain finally coming to a boil. She took a deep breath before replying, her voice steady but tinged with a sense of understanding. "You know, I never meant for things to go this far," she confessed gently, her eyes locked with his. "I was young and stupid, and I didn't know how to handle my own insecurities. I shouldn't have pushed you away like I did." Jenny was lost in her thoughts, not sensing the danger that was unfolding before her. As she unbuttoned her uniform, her gaze remained fixed on Hunter, her voice thick with emotion. She leaned forward slightly, baring more of her skin without a thought to the risk. Then everything changed. There was a sharp crack, like shattered glass, and Jenny felt a sudden, searing pain across her face. Suddenly, she was on the ground, gasoline seeping through her shirt, the acrid smell invading her nostrils. "Hunter!" she gasped, disoriented and terrified. Jenny pushed herself up, the world spinning around her. She spat out blood, trying to make sense of the situation. "Hunter, what are you doing?" No response. "You need to snap out of this!" Jenny fought to keep her voice steady, though fear was coursing through her veins. Jenny's screams pierced the night air like a banshee's wail, her body engulfed in flames. It was a horrific sight, her writhing form outlined against the blacktop. Hunter stood motionless, his face blank. The crackling fire filled the air, the smell of burning gasoline overwhelming. Then, a faint sound cut through the chaos. The revving of an old truck engine. Headlights flooded the road, illuminating the scene of horror unfold. Hunter jumped into the Monte Carlo, ignoring Jenny's agonizing screams. He slammed the door shut, the thud echoing in his ears like a death knell. The pickup truck was just a few hundred feet away now, the driver's panicked voice on the phone audible even over the roaring engine. With the border so close, he couldn't afford to hesitate. He floored the gas pedal, the car roaring to life and accelerating away from the hellish scene. Hunter's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, catching glimpses of the pickup truck's headlights getting larger. He clenched the steering wheel tighter, the Monte Carlo's tires screaming as he pushed the vehicle to its limits. "Almost there," he muttered, his voice barely audible over the engine's roar. "Just a little longer." He could see the dimly lit border station in the distance, a small beacon of hope against the vast darkness. His heart pounded in his chest as he neared, the pickup truck still following closely behind. Hunter floored the accelerator as he crashed through the customs barrier, the Monte Carlo jolting a border into Canada. His mind raced with conflicting emotions. Relief and guilt intermingled with adrenaline and fear. He'd made it to relative safety. For now. The Canadian police would be alerted about the illegal crossing, and the US would soon follow suit. But for now, Hunter had a chance, however temporary, to escape the carnage he left behind. Far behind him, Jenny's body lay twisted on the roadside, her clothes burned away in places, skin charred and blackened, her once familiar face now unrecognizable. She was alone, no one had stopped. The pickup truck driver had called 911, and driven carefully around the scene to avoid further danger, but by then it was too late. The flames had done their work. Dawn would come soon. And with it, the truth. Hunter's adrenaline slowly faded, replaced by a creeping exhaustion. The reality of his situation began to sink in. Yes, he had physically escaped, but for how long? The border crossing fiasco would surely bring law enforcement's attention, both American and Canadian. He glanced out the window, taking in the unfamiliar Canadian landscape as the first rays of dawn streaked across the sky. It was a temporary sanctuary, but nothing more. Hunter knew he had one hope, a good friend, Philip, who lived in Quebec. The distance was daunting, but Hunter was determined. He stopped in a rural town, parking the Monte Carlo and quickly hot-wiring a Ford F-150. With a deep breath, he ignited the engine and hit the road again, his heart skipping a beat. The journey to Quebec might take days, but Philip was his lifeline. The first leg of the journey was surprisingly smooth, with few major hiccups. Hunter found himself making good time, the landscape gradually changing as he headed eastward. The Ford F-150 rumbled along the highways and back roads, the monotony broken by intermittent stops for gas and quick meals. Despite the mounting anxiety, Hunter's mind fixated on one thought: seeing Philip again. After 2 long days and countless hours on the road, Hunter finally neared Quebec. The familiar landmarks came into view, the sign welcoming him to the province, the distinctive architecture of the city skyline. Excitement and worry battled within him. He was close now, the end of his journey within reach. But would Philip still be there? Would he truly help? Hunter's heart skipped a beat as he approached the modest house, the familiar facade bringing back memories. With a trembling hand, he knocked on the door. To his surprise, a large Indian woman answered, her expression curious but friendly. "Hello," she said, her voice smooth and calm. "Can I help you?" Hunter forced himself to gather his thoughts, his mind racing. Is Philip here?" he managed to say, his voice faltering. The woman's expression softened, a hint of recognition crossing her features. "You're Hunter, right?" she asked, her tone gentler now. Hunter was taken aback. How did she know who he was? It had been years since his and Philip's friendship had been so close. "Yeah," he finally answered, his own voice betraying a mix of surprise and curiosity. How do you know who I am?" The woman smiled faintly. "Philip talks about you sometimes," she said, leaning slightly against the doorframe. Even after all this time, she studied his face a moment longer, darker circles under his eyes, the tension in his jaw. Then her voice dipped, low and careful. "You look like a man running from something." Hunter stiffened. She didn't wait for him to respond. Instead, she stepped back and opened the door wider. "Come in," she said simply. "He's not here right now, but he'll be back tonight." A beat passed. Then, softer, "And I think he'll want to see you." Hunter stepped inside, his boots thudding softly on the hardwood floor. The house smelled like cumin, old books, and pine cleaner, warm, lived in. He took it all in. The cluttered coffee table with its stack of French-English dictionaries, the faded band posters on the wall, and her, Mira. That was her name. Of course he remembered her. Middle school crush, high school heartbreak. The whole drama unfolded during their awkward years. Rumors flying about secret notes passed in math class, a public breakup at prom when she called Philip emotionally allergic to commitment. They were legends back then, at least in their small-town social circles. And now here she was, not just opening Philip's door, but living in it. "You two still?" Hunter started awkwardly, gesturing between himself and Mira before cutting off. She gave a low laugh as she handed him a glass of water. "God, no," she said flatly. "We haven't dated since we were 16, then quieter. But life has a way of keeping people tangled even after love lets go." Hunter sat down on the couch, the same threadbare one from photos Philip once texted him years ago, and ran his hands over his face. Everything felt unreal again. Outside, dust crept across Quebec's sky like ink through water. The living room walls were covered in photographs and trinkets from Philip's life. Some showed him laughing with friends, others featured him alone, one of him with his arm around Mira. In the corner, a framed plaque caught Hunter's eye. It bore two words, "Certified Groyper." A sudden chill ran up Hunter's spine. Chud and Groyper, far-right extremist terms, but surely they couldn't apply to quiet, shy Philip? Hunter's gaze turned to a portrait on the opposite wall, a larger version of the same picture. Chud, his old friend, had gone down a dark path, but what exactly had happened to him? Just then, the door slammed open. Hunter started, nearly spilling his water. Philip stood in the doorway, keys in one hand, bags in the other. He looked up, surprise flickering across his face. "Hey," he finally said, his voice flat. "Long time no see." Philip strode forward, his expensive suit hugging his muscular frame. A thick cigar burned in one hand as he hugged Hunter tightly, slapping him on the back once before pulling away. "You look good," he said, smoke streaming from his mouth. "Follow me." Hunter complied, following Philip toward the back of the house. A door led to a small office, more like a study, lined with bookshelves and an old antique desk. Photos covered the walls, rallies, protests, even a framed photo of him giving a speech. Hunter's eyes widened. There was no mistaking it anymore. Philip was active in far-right circles. The propaganda, the slogan pins, the portraits, it all added up. "Have a seat, buddy," Philip said, motioning to a worn couch. He sank into an armchair opposite, crossing one leg over the other. The room felt suddenly smaller. Hunter sat down reluctantly, still processing the scene. "This isn't the Philip I remember," he began awkwardly. The revelation stung. Philip not only knew about the incident with Tucker Carlson, he approved of it. It was twisted, unsettling. "People think I'm based?" Hunter echoed, incredulous. Philip nodded, pulling out a cigar from a mahogany box. "Hell yeah. Based and red-pilled, right?" He laughed. "Here." He offered Hunter the cigar along with a lighter. "You're a damn folk hero in some circles, Hunter," Philip went on. "The Chud community's been shouting your praises. That stuff with Tucker Carlson? Legend." He lit his own cigar and took a long drag. No one's sure how you managed it." The room was filled with acrid smoke, and with tension. Hunter's thoughts were racing. Had things always been this way for Philip? How had he gotten involved with this world? More importantly, what did he want from Hunter now? He looked up to find Philip studying him. "You don't seem surprised," he noted, his voice cutting through the smoke. "Not as shocked as I thought you'd be." Hunter swallowed. "I've seen some things, Philip," he said simply. "But this..." He gestured at the office walls, now visible through the haze. "This isn't you." "Isn't it?" Philip asked quietly. "You don't know me anymore, Hunter. Not like you used to." "I know what I see," Hunter replied, voice low, "and I don't like it." A silence stretched between them, thick, suffocating. Then Philip smirked, as if he'd expected nothing less. "Good," he said. "Then you still have a spine." He leaned forward, eyes sharp in the dim light. Because we're not done talking." Philip leaned back in his chair, smoke curling from his lips like a slow-burning fuse. His eyes gleamed, not with warmth, but something colder. Purposeful. "Before I rise," he said, voice low and steady, "before the Chud Nation unites under one banner, I want the trio back together." Hunter's stomach dropped. The trio. Him, Philip, Relax King, middle school sleepovers, high school pranks, the dumb YouTube skits they made in Philip's basement. Back when their biggest concern was whether their videos would hit 1,000 views, or if Mira would talk to either of them again. Now it wasn't about laughs or likes, it was about loyalty and legacy wrapped in extremism. "You want me to bring Relax here?" Hunter asked slowly, testing the words like glass beneath his feet. Philip nodded once. "Yeah." He tapped ash into a brass tray shaped like an old meme logo, a frog wearing sunglasses, half buried under papers full of scribbled plans for rallies and online campaigns. "One last time," he said quietly, but there was steel behind it now. "As family, then softer, we were kings once, just 3 kids running our own world." He looked at Hunter, really looked, and for a second, the fanatic vanished, replaced by something raw, nostalgia tinged with grief. But then came the edge again. "And we're gonna rule something real this time." Hunter sat in silence, the cigar still unlit in his hand, the weight of it all pressed down. The fire at Reezer's, Jenny's blood-soaked face twisted in agony, Tucker Carlson's body erupting into flames, all while this underground brotherhood had been whispering his name like a prophet. And now Philip wasn't just offering shelter. He was offering a cause. "You're asking me to cross back into the US, Hunter said finally, voice hollow. "To find Relax, knowing what I've done." Philip didn't flinch. "I'm asking you to finish what started the moment you lit that match, outside." A gust of wind rattled the window pane, like something knocking to get in. Hunter met Philip's gaze, the air crackling between them. Outside, wind howled through the trees, making the house shudder in agreement. For a moment, it felt like the world was holding its breath, and then something deep within Hunter shifted. "Fine," he said quietly. "I'll do it, but only on one condition." Philip raised an eyebrow, curiosity in his eyes. "Go on," he said, leaning forward. Hunter took a deep breath, steadying himself. "I want out," he said, voice firmer now. "After this, I'm done. I'm not spending the rest of my life on some crusade. I want my life back." Philip's expression was unreadable. "Anything else?" Hunter hesitated only a second before. "And I want to make amends. For everyone I've hurt." Philip stared at him for a long moment, smoke curling from the cigar like ghostly fingers. Then, slowly, he smiled. "You think it's that easy?" he asked. "Walk away after what you've done?" Hunter met his gaze without flinching. "No," he said quietly. "But I can't keep running forever." Another pause. Finally, Philip back in his chair again and gave a small nod. "Fine," he said simply. "Bring Relax to me, let us have one last meeting as brothers, and you can walk away clean." He reached forward then, not shaking hands, but pressing the lighter into Hunter's palm. "But only if you light this cigar. A test. Not of loyalty, but of commitment to finish what they'd started." Hunter looked down at the lighter, his fingers trembling slightly. This was more than just lighting a cigar. It was stepping back into a world he'd tried to leave behind. He glanced up one last time, locking eyes with Philip. "One meeting," he said firmly. "Then I'm gone." With that, he flicked the lighter and held the flame to the tip of the cigar. The spark caught, slow at first, then bright, and in that glow, something ancient rekindled between them. The flames danced like old memories, and with them came glimpses of better days. The basement filled with the sounds of yelling and laughter as they recorded their silly skits, the summer nights spent staying up late on their Xboxes. A part of Hunter felt transported. He glanced at Philip, but something in his friend's expression made his stomach turn. A sick smirk played at the corner of Philip's mouth, like he knew exactly what Hunter was reliving. Hunter suddenly felt exposed. "I remember you then, man," Hunter said quietly, almost to himself, "back when Electro Ninja HD was a thing, when we were just kids messing around." Philip's grin widened, knowing, almost cruel. "Yeah," he drawled. "You used to be fun, before the world beat the joy out of you." He tapped Ash onto the tray, eyes never leaving Hunter's face. "Before Jenny did." The name hung in the air like smoke. Hunter flinched, not just at the mention of her, but at how easily Philip weaponized it. He remembered now, filming grocery hauls as Electro Ninja HD, laughing at his own dumb commentary like it meant something. The joy in creating, even if only 5 people watched. Then Jenny called him pathetic for caring about views and comments, until one day he stopped uploading entirely. She didn't just break his heart, she erased a part of who he was. And now here it was again, the past, clawing its way into the present through Philip's twisted nostalgia and smoldering ideology. But that smirk, that look, it wasn't about friendship or healing, it was hunger, for control, for discipleship disguised as brotherhood. Hunter felt a strange sense of clarity amid the haze. He was tired of being manipulated, of having his past used against him to serve someone else's agenda. He looked up at Philip. "Jenny didn't take anything from me," he said quietly, voice steely in the smoke. "I gave her more than I gave myself. That was my choice." Philip's smirk faltered, a crack in his carefully constructed veneer. He wasn't used to his puppet talking back. "So, what?" he said, his eyes narrowing. "You think everything you gave actually mattered?" He leaned closer, a predator sizing up its prey. "She dumped you, Hunter. Dumped you. And for what? Because you were too busy on your computer, doing something nobody cared about?" Hunter felt the old shame trying to resurface, but he pushed it back down. He'd grown since then. "I cared," he said simply. Philip's smile twisted into a bitter sneer. "Oh please," he scoffed, "you cared about numbers and likes, views, nothing meaningful. And what did it get you? Lonely nights and a broken heart." Hunter clenched his jaw. "You don't get to tell me what mattered." Philip leaned forward, voice dripping with mockery. "At least Relax did something," he spat. "While you were out here crying over a girl who never respected your passion, Relax was building an empire. One dumb meme at a time. He kept uploading, kept grinding." He gestured to the wall where a grainy screenshot was framed. "Relax King, when you touch grass, feat Tucker Carlson." "He stayed relevant," Philip continued, eyes blazing now. "Even when the algorithm hated him, even when people called him cringe, he didn't quit. You let Jenny pull the plug on Electro Ninja HD like it meant nothing." A beat, then softer, like poison wrapped in sympathy. "She saw how weak you were, and she walked." Hunter's fingers curled around the unlit cigar in his hand. It wasn't just about videos or views, it was about voice. And yes, he had lost it. But not because Jenny took it, because he let her words become louder than his own truth. Hunter's grip on the cigar tightened almost to a snap. He remembered the weight of her words, how they'd seeped into him like poison, until the very thought of making content felt pointless. She'd called him childish, a waste of space, and he'd believed her. He'd let himself be silenced. All because he thought he loved her. Anger coursed through him. He wasn't a weak man, he knew that now. He'd fought harder battles since then. But here he was again, with Philip, and old memories that still stung. Hunter's eyes locked with Philip's, the weight of memories and anger pressing down. But there was something else too, something darker that fueled his words. "You want to talk about relevance, Philip?" he said quietly. "Let's talk about what happened to Jenny. Let's talk about how she came to find me, with her condescending apologies and hollow sympathy." The cigar trembled slightly in Hunter's hand. "She thought she could walk back into my life, act like nothing happened, like I wasn't still paying the price of her words. So I showed her the truth," he went on, voice tight. "I showed her what it's like to feel powerless." Philip's smile had vanished. He was leaning forward now, eyes locked on Hunter. Even the smoke seemed to tense, like it was waiting. She stood there, trying to act sorry for what she'd done, for the life she'd taken. He could see her now, standing there, her eyes gleaming with false sincerity, her hair blowing gently in the night breeze. He could almost smell her perfume. And then suddenly it was gone, replaced by the acrid smell of smoke. His hand tightened around the lighter. I showed her what it's like to be afraid. The room was dead still. The only sound was the soft crackle of the burning cigar in Philip's hand. Finally, he spoke. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked, voice low. Hunter met his gaze unflinchingly. "Because you should know who I am now," he said quietly. "What I'm capable of." The words hung between them like a challenge. This wasn't just about old wounds. It was about the man standing before Philip, the one who'd found a voice in fire, even if it cost him. And in that silence, something shifted. Philip leaned forward, his eyes never leaving Hunter's face. "I do know," he said softly. "But maybe there's something else you need to know." Hunter raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Whatever was coming next, he felt a sudden weight in the air. Philip paused, considering his words. The moment felt suspended in time, a crossroads where past, present, and future were in sharp focus. Then finally, he spoke. "I have a proposal." Hunter looked at him carefully, waiting. "A proposal?" He said it slowly, as if tasting each syllable. His grip on the cigar was tight. Philip kept his gaze locked with Hunter's, unflinching. "Yes," he said simply. "One you can't refuse." Hunter's jaw clenched, his breath shallow. He looked down at his hands, the same hands that had once filmed goofy YouTube skits, now stained with gasoline and memory. "She found me," he began, voice low and hollow. "On the side of the road, in that damn uniform." A bitter laugh slipped out. Jenny Hall, cop now. Swore she cared. Said she'd been watching my school talks. He swallowed hard, eyes distant. She started talking, soft voice, sad eyes, like we were back in high school again. And then, he shook his head slowly. She unbuttoned her shirt, just enough to show skin. Silence fell. Philip leaned forward slightly, not disgusted, not shocked, but intrigued. Hunter continued. "It wasn't sympathy, it was power. She thought I was broken, that she could fix me with pity and half-naked comfort." His voice cracked with rage now. "But I'd spent years drowning because of her judgment. And there she was, trying to touch me like I owed her forgiveness." His hand tightened into a fist. I reached into the back seat, grabbed the Molotov. 1 second, it was just us. Then glass shattered on impact. Fire bloomed across her face. Her scream, I'll never forget it. It wasn't anger, it was surprise. Like she never believed I'd fight back. Hunter looked up at Philip now, eyes raw but clear. "She didn't die from being burned," he whispered. "She died because I walked away while she burned." And then came one final truth. I didn't do it for hate. I did it to finally be heard. The room was dead silent. Even the fire seemed to be listening. Finally, Philip spoke, his voice low and rough. "That," he seemed to struggle for words, his eyes still fixed on Hunter, "is the most terrifying thing I've ever heard." It wasn't condemnation in his tone, it was awe, respect. Philip leaned back, the weight of Hunter's confession settling like ash in the air. Then, slowly, he crushed his cigar into the tray. "So," he said, voice smooth again, dangerously calm. "You ready to find Relax?" Hunter hesitated, his fingers twitched, his throat went dry, he wasn't ready. Not at all. The US border felt like a noose tightening around his neck. The moment he crossed back, every camera, every cop radio would be hunting him for what happened to Jenny and Tucker Carlson. But worse? Relax. The third of their trio, loud-mouthed, unpredictable, brilliant with a camera, but always dancing too close to chaos himself. They hadn't spoken in years. Not since Relax dropped off the internet after an infamous live stream collapse involving fireworks and a city park fountain. "He's not easy to track," Philip added, watching Hunter closely. "But I know where he is." Another beat passed. "Problem is, you gotta go get him," Philip said flatly. "And that means going home." Hunter looked away, toward the window where Quebec's snow began dusting the ground outside like powdered bone. His stomach twisted. Fear coiled tight in his chest. They'll see me coming. But if this was his price for freedom, if finding Relax meant walking away clean from all this madness, he swallowed hard and turned back to face Philip. "Tell me where he is." The car was small, more suited for a teenager running to a summer job than a 32-year-old far-right figure. On the drive, Hunter asked about Philip's life since they were young, what he'd been. "I'm a writer now," Philip said, "and a political commentator, working to make our great nation great again." Hunter snorted. "That's Trump's slogan, man." Philip shot him a look, his eyes hard as metal. "Doesn't matter who said it first. Fact stays, I'm making a difference, real change." Hunter glanced away at the endless snow outside, then back at Philip, who gripped the wheel like it owed him something. By talking on Twitter and YouTube? He scoffed again. That's change? Philip didn't flinch. I got 3.5 million followers, he replied coolly. Hunter stared, disbelieving. Jesus, Philip. He shook his head silently, leaning against the window, eyes on the snow. Outside, the world was a blur of gray-white, endless snowfields stretching between them and their destination. But here, inside this car, it was just the two of them in a bubble of tension. And as the miles rolled like the wheels on this pitiful car, Philip went on, rambling like only a true chud could. How he was a leader, how he was a leader, how he was the chud imperator to rally the chud army and show the world the true power of being based. His voice was smooth, confident, like he was giving a rousing speech at a rally and not ranting in a tiny car. Hunter listened, watching his friend devolve into something else entirely. You know, Hunter, Philip said finally, glancing at him, there's no future in what we used to do, not in this new era. Hunter kept his eyes on the snow, watching the miles pass. You'd be surprised, he said quietly. Philip raised an eyebrow. Yeah? Hunter sighed. People still watch YouTube. They still make their money, their communities. It's not over because you say it is. Philip scoffed. You think clicks are all that matters? Hunter glanced at him, raising an eyebrow. Money's a solid thing to stand on, he said simply. True, Philip said, but money is nothing without power. Hunter shrugged. And power is nothing without relevance. Philip glanced at him again, something hard in his eyes. And relevance can fall. As they drove, Philip went on about the power of relevance. It wasn't a matter of clicks or money, it's about impacting real change. And while YouTube might have its place, there are other platforms, other ways to be heard. He talked about building an empire, not just on clicks but on power, on being a voice people had to listen to. And that voice could be a chud's, if they had the right message to spread. It could be any one of us, Philip said, eyes fixed on the road. But it has to start. Being based isn't about likes, Hunter, Philip continued, his voice rising slightly. It's about conviction. It's standing up when the goyim, the system, tries to silence you. I'm not just making content, I'm leading a movement. The Chudinator Initiative. It's not a joke. He gestured vaguely toward the rear of the SUV, where a duffel bag sat half-zipped. Inside, pamphlets printed with slogans like Based or Betrayed and Canada for Chuds Only. We've got cells in Montreal, Toronto, even Vancouver. Protests planned, live streams ready to ignite. I'm not chasing views, he said coldly. I'm building an identity. And soon, North America will know what it means to be chud. Hunter met his eyes sharply, a smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. You make it sound like a cult, dude. No, Philip replied, his tone cold and even. It's a brotherhood. Hunter rolled his eyes. Right, brotherhood. Except you're the one in charge, right? Philip gave him a sidelong glance. Someone has to run the show. And what about me? Hunter asked, turning in his seat. Where do I fit into your little cult? Philip didn't answer right away, he just kept driving, the snow thickening ahead like a wall. Finally, you're the spark. Another beat passed. The man who lit Tucker Carlson on fire doesn't fit in. His voice dropped low, almost reverent. He starts revolutions. It's about making this country great again, Philip said firmly. Chuds in politics. In the media. Hell, on every street corner. No more goyim. This is about the future, and the future doesn't have room for anyone that doesn't bow to chud ideals. That's why we're building cells in every major city. Chud militias. Chud soldiers. We're gonna make those words mean something. The world's a battlefield, he said. A place where the war isn't fought with guns or bombs. It's fought with ideas, with words. Ideas that can spread like fire, even with a spark like Hunter. That's what his Chudinator initiative was all about. An army of chuds. And Hunter's spark would light the way. But why? Hunter asked quietly. This isn't about making money or clicks or any of the other stuff you were going on about. This... He looked out the window, watching the snow whip around them. You're creating something bigger than us. The world is bigger than YouTube, Philip said simply. And this movement is bigger than any one of us. It's something worth fighting for. Hunter glanced at him. You really believe that, don't you? I wouldn't lead if I didn't. But that's a lot of idealism, Hunter said quietly. You don't even know if any of this is... He trailed off. You're not just setting yourself up for disappointment, you're setting up everyone who follows you. And what if it works? Philip asked pointedly. What if this is the future the world wants? He raised an eyebrow. What if this is what it's gonna take? The Chudnator Initiative, Philip said, voice rising with passion, is more than a movement. It's the future of Canadian nationalism. A network of based minds across provinces who refuse to kneel to woke goyim culture. We don't riot, we don't vandalize, we convert. Through memes, speeches, live streams, we infiltrate schools, workplaces, even police departments. He gestured toward the duffel bag at Hunter's feet, thick with flyers stamped, Chud Rises, USB drives preloaded with radical manifestos in Ziploc bags, and patches bearing the Chudnator sigil, a flaming frog inside a maple leaf. Once you cross, Philip continued, you're not just finding relics, you're seeding revolution. His eyes burned now. Drop these at bus stations, leave them in laundromats, libraries, bars where cops drink. A smirk curled his lips. Make America catch Chud fever. Just then, GPS pinged, approaching US-Canada border in 1 mile. The moment hit like ice water. Philip didn't slow. He turned sharply onto a snow-covered dirt trail deep within unmonitored woods near Cornwall. No cameras, no patrol cars, just silence and pine trees heavy with frost. Engine off, cold air rushed through cracked windows as he turned fully to Hunter. This is where you walk. He tossed him gloves from the back seat and zipped open the duffel bag, one final time, to hand it over completely. And remember, he said lowly, as Hunter opened the door into freezing wind, you're not escaping your past, you're carrying its flame. Hunter stepped onto the trail, duffel bag slung over his shoulder, his heart pounding. The forest was a winter's canvas, pure white snow, the only color in endless miles of barren trees. He glanced back into the car at Philip, all hard eyes and sharp angles. The kind of man who'd led a movement, the kind of man who'd believed in it. Hunter gripped the duffel bag tighter, staring at his friend for a moment. Then without another word, he turned and vanished into the snowy woods. The dirt trail gave way to virgin snow as Hunter's boots crunched through it, leaving a trail of boot prints in his wake. The white stretched out far as he could see, with no sign of movement or people in any direction. It was eerily quiet, like he was the last person on Earth. Hunter moved quickly, no trail map, no compass. Just the duffel bag slung over his shoulder. The sun was setting, and the snow sparkled brilliantly with its dying rays. The woods grew thick as the trail narrowed under snow-covered trees, their branches low and heavy. The duffel bag suddenly felt heavier on Hunter's shoulder. He glanced back. No one followed, not as far as he could tell, but every snap in the woods made his pulse race. A squirrel bounding for a tree, a branch creaking, the wind rustling leaves. He quickened his pace, moving deeper into the unknown. Hunter finally reached a small U.S. town, the buildings blanketed in snow like icing on a cake. The cold stung, but he welcomed it. It was a distraction from the memories flooding his mind now. He sat on a public bench, pulling out a cigarette to light. He cupped it in one gloved hand and smoked it, head tipped back to exhale plumes of smoke, his breath a shadow drifting up. It was quiet here, peaceful, a world away from the tension of the car ride. Then he heard it, a car door closing. He turned slowly. A police cruiser, parked across the street, lights off. No officer in sight, but the door had just shut. Hunter's blood ran cold. Jenny was dead, but they knew. He dropped the cigarette, crushing it under his boot. The duffel bag felt heavier than ever, as if its contents were now evidence stitched into every seam. His hands trembled, not from cold, but from memory. Jenny's scream, her flesh blistering, the way she reached for him even as fire ate her face. And now, relax. What would he say to a man who had once called him bro in memes and live streams? Would he laugh, run, turn him in, or worse, join him? Another gust of wind cut through the square. Distant radio chatter crackled from inside that squad car. Time was up for thinking. Time to move. Hunter ducked his head and headed across the snowy street, away from the cruiser. His boots crunched over the snow, leaving a trail of print marks. He kept his head low as he went, the duffel bag bumping against his leg. The sun was setting, deepening shadows between the quiet buildings. Then he saw it, the neon sign flickering to life like a beacon. McDonald's. He went inside. The restaurant was bright and warm, a stark contrast to the frozen streets outside. Families laughed and chatted as they sat at tables, ordering Big Macs and fries. The smell of grease and salty hamburgers filled the air. Hunter looked around. A A few teens loitered by the soda dispensers. An old man read a newspaper by the window. A family with young children occupied a table near the bathrooms. No one paid him any attention. He approached the counter. An employee with greasy hair looked up. "Okay, can I puppy ya?" Hunter went to the counter and ordered a Big Mac, extra pickles with a Coke. The employee took his money, slid the food across the counter. "Anything else?" No," Hunter said. "That's all." He grabbed his tray, found an empty table, and sat. Opening his duffel bag, he placed a USB stick on the table. He ate silently, staring out the window at the falling snow. His thoughts ran through his head like a movie reel, replaying moments he wanted so badly to forget. Once he was done, he looked around. The place was still busy. No one had noticed anything unusual. He wiped down the table before placing the empty USB at its center, leaving it there to be found. Then he got up and left, pushing open the McDonald's doors to be swallowed by the night outside. He walked through hours of cold, the wind biting his eyes and stinging his ears. Nothing for miles but snow and trees. The sky was like a blanket of stars above, each one a tiny prick of light. But the cold was a weight on his shoulders, slowing his steps. He tried to warm with by rubbing his hands together, but it barely worked. He pulled out his phone to check for a signal, hoping for a bar to appear. Nothing. He looked farther down the road, trying to see ahead. Snow and trees. Nothing else. His fingers tingled with cold, each step a struggle now. He was feeling weak, lightheaded. Hypothermia. He had to find something. A house, a cabin, a car, something, before it was too late. After walking for what felt like an eternity, Hunter found a dirt road. It led to a small, old house set back in a forest clearing. All the lights were off, making the house a dark silhouette against the snow. He was so tired, so cold. But then he saw it, a 2013 Jeep Wrangler, parked there, unlocked, like an invite. He slid inside, his breath a cloud in the frigid air. He didn't care who it belonged to. He needed to warm up. He closed the door quietly, then pulled out the cigar Philip had given him. Flicking the lighter, snap, flame burst to life. He lit it slowly, deeply inhaling. The warmth of smoke filled his lungs as he leaned back into the seat. "Finally," he muttered, exhaling slowly. Outside, snow fell heavier now. Inside, warmth crept through him, not just from fire, but from defiance. This Jeep wasn't just shelter, it was escape. And as he smoked in silence under that dark wooden roof shadow, Hunter knew he wasn't hiding anymore, he was hunting forward. The cigar burned low, its orange glow flickering like a tiny campfire in the dark. Hunter stared through the windshield, watching snow pile on the hood like falling ash. His fingers, still stiff from cold, finally began to feel something. Tingling warmth returning. He checked the glove box, empty except for an old receipt and a parking pass labeled Cattell Lake Camp, staff use only. No keys. But he didn't need them yet. Not now. Now he just needed to survive the night. He wrapped his jacket tighter around himself and took another slow drag. The smoke curled toward the ceiling, then vanished into shadow. Outside, nothing moved. Just wind pressing through pines and snow swallowing sound whole. And in that silence, memories came again. Jenny's laugh when they were young. Philip's voice saying, "You're not escaping, you're carrying its flame." Relex's face on that last live stream, wild-eyed, before being tackled by security. "We all broke," Hunter whispered into the dark cab. "But I'm still burning." Slowly, cigarette still between his lips, he drifted off, not asleep. Just waiting. For dawn. For fire to rise again. Hunter woke from his half-daze, opening his eyes to a quiet, smoke-filled cab. An hour had passed. The cigar was a butt now, its smoldering glow barely visible in the shadows. He sat forward, stretching stiff limbs. His fingers still tingled a little, but the cold had mostly faded. He looked around, realizing for the first time how the Jeep's interior had been illuminated while he slept. The key was in the ignition, and the gas tank was full. "Damn," he muttered, grinning. This made things easier. Hunter took a deep breath, the smoke clearing from the cab. He reached out to run a hand across the dash, feeling the warm leather under his gloves. This was nice. Comfortable. Outside, snow fell in flurries against the windshield. A peaceful, silent night lay beyond. He took a moment to just listen. The quiet hum of the engine, his own breathing. It was the quiet of being alone, and having nothing but time. He turned the key, the engine roared to life, sudden and hungry in the frozen stillness. Dashboard lights flared blue, full tank. Radio flickered, static at first, then a faint country twang from some backwater AM station. Hunter exhaled, watching his breath curl into the new warmth. No more walking, no more freezing. He ran his palm over the steering wheel, cracked but sturdy, a survivor like him. Then he looked down. In the center console, half hidden under a crumpled napkin, a handwritten note. "If you're reading this, you needed it more than I did. JD." No name, no number, just trust, left in steel and snow. Hunter stared at it for a long beat. Then he smiled, a real one, sharp and quiet, and tossed the cigar butt out into the night before shifting into drive. "Guess I'm not invisible after all." The Jeep growled forward, tires biting fresh powder as it rolled down that dark driveway, toward roads unknown, and ghosts waiting just beyond dawn's edge. Hunter sped down the dirt road, snow whipping through his windshield. The radio played a song he didn't know but found himself singing along. His pulse drummed with excitement. He was getting away, finally moving forward again after months of being stuck. The engine hummed beneath him like a wild animal waiting to burst from its cage, and with every mile his adrenaline surged harder, faster. His past was behind him, his future lay ahead, and he couldn't wait to catch up. He watched the road as it rolled beneath him, white and empty, nothing but snow and trees ahead. The wind howled outside, but inside was a fire burning, relentlessness. He was moving forward, and he was never looking back. He gripped the wheel and pressed down harder on the gas, feeling his heart rate quicken. The world around him was a blur of snow and pines, but he saw only one thing clearly, a straight path ahead. Hunter reached into the duffel bag, pulling out his phone. He powered it on and waited for a signal to return. Finally, one bar appeared. He pulled up the GPS coordinates Philip had sent him. Deep in Pennsylvania woods, near an abandoned mining town called Blackspur. "Relax, King," he whispered. The name sent a jolt through him, old laughter echoing in his memory like ghosts at a party no one else remembers. He looked at the map, several hours south, but doable. Fast, if he didn't stop. The road was clear ahead, snowplows had passed earlier. Signs marked Route 81 south just miles from where he'd found the Jeep. From there, straight shot down I-78 once he hit civilization again. His fingers tapped against the wheel as anticipation coiled in his gut, not just for Relax, but for what came after. What story would they write now? Two fallen kings of online chaos, one thought dead, one believed insane, and now both burning toward rebirth. Hunter leaned back slightly, eyes flicking to the rearview mirror, not looking for cops, but wondering if someone, or something, was already watching their approach. Then softly, under his breath, "See you soon, brother." And with that, gas pedal down, headlights cutting through snow-laced dark, Hunter vanished into motion, chasing dawn across frozen America's spine. 15 minutes down the road, Hunter spotted something in his rearview mirror, red and blue lights. His stomach dropped. He hadn't done anything wrong, at least not yet, but adrenaline spiked anyway. No way they'd be after him this fast, unless someone saw him take the Jeep, or found that USB in McDonald's. The cruiser gained speed behind him, no siren, but closing fast. Hunter's grip tightened on the wheel. "Come on," he muttered, scanning ahead for exits, side roads, anything. But it was too late. The flashing lights filled his mirrors like fire from hell itself. They were coming for him, and this time he wasn't sure he could run. He clenched the wheel tighter until his knuckles turned white. "Damn," he spat under his breath. "They found me faster than I thought." He scanned the road ahead. Snow, trees, and nothing else. His heart thumped against his chest like a war drum. The cruiser roared past, sirens still silent, lights blazing into the night, just gone. Hunter exhaled sharply like he'd been holding his breath for minutes. His hands trembled on the wheel. "Jesus," he muttered, laughing once. Short, raw. Not even close. He checked the mirror again. Nothing behind him now but falling snow and empty road. For a moment, he let himself believe it. Maybe luck was still with him. Maybe the world hadn't caught up yet. But as the Jeep pushed south toward Pennsylvania, and Relax, the truth settled in. Next time, they might not miss. And when they came, he wouldn't run, he'd burn. Hunter slowed the Jeep as he approached, tires crunching over frozen gravel. Relax's place sat deep in the Pennsylvania woods, surrounded by rusted chain-link fence and dead corn stalks buried under snow. The house was a sagging two-story, windows dark, paint peeling like burnt skin. But parked out front, three old American beasts, a 1970 Dodge Charger with primer scars, a sky-high lifted Ford Bronco missing a door, and a blacked-out 67 GTO with tint so dark it looked lit. All intact, all empty, no lights on inside, No smoke from the chimney. Not even footprints in the fresh snow. Hunter killed the engine. Silence rushed in, thick and heavy. He sat there for nearly 10 minutes, staring at the front door through fogged glass. Was Relax really here? Or had Philip sent him on another ghost hunt? Then, a flicker. Deep in one upstairs window, a flash of blue light, faint but steady, like a screen turning on, then off again. Hunter's pulse kicked once more. He didn't know what waited inside, a brother long lost, or something unrecognizable beneath years of rage and silence. So he stayed put, hand on the duffel bag, eyes locked on that window, waiting not to be seen first, but to decide if he was ready to see him. He watched that window for several long minutes, but no more blue light flared. The room stayed dark, like a promise waiting to be kept. It made Hunter antsy. Damn it, he muttered, glancing around. The sky was still bright with winter sunlight, but snow was falling faster now, hiding anything far into the trees. This felt wrong. Something about the empty cars, the dark house, the silence, it made his skin crawl. It all happened so fast, a truck pulling down the long gravel drive, cutting the Jeep off behind him, headlights blinding in his mirrors. And then, a big man got out, 6'5", easy. His face was a mess of old scar lines, his head half-shaven, like some kind of monk. His leather coat was old, faded, and his eyes. He was at Hunter's window before he could blink. "What the hell you doing in front of my damn house?" he growled. "You lost or something?" Hunter stared up at the big man, heart lodged in his throat, mind racing. Those eyes, he knew those eyes. He reached slowly for the window controls, rolling it down. He managed, mouth dry. The man watched him, gaze cold and steady. Hunter took a deep breath. I'm looking for a man named Relax King." The tall man went still, then let out a sharp laugh. "You're one of those goddamn fans," he sneered, stepping closer to the window. So close, Hunter could smell cheap aftershave. "Think you can chase down whatever bullshit you've seen on the internet? Find out where I live." Hunter clenched his fists. "I'm not a fan," he said carefully. "And I'm not here for your life story." The man's eyes narrowed. "Why the hell are you here, then?" Hunter paused, watching the man's eyes. Something shifted in them when he mentioned his name. "To see you." "Yeah," the man grunted, folding his arms. "For what? An autograph?" "To talk," Hunter said. "About what?" "The past." "Why the hell does that matter to you?" "Because I'm part of it," Hunter said quietly. The man tensed then, eyes narrowing even further. "Who are you?" Shh. Hunter saw recognition spark in the man's eye, and a smirk pulled at his mouth. "You really him?" he asked, voice low. Hunter nodded. The man stared at him for a long beat before letting out a gruff laugh. "Damn," he said finally. "It's been years." Hunter leaned forward. "Too long, brother," he said softly. The man's expression shifted, softened slightly. "Yeah," he agreed, dropping his arms. "Yeah. It has." He paused, studying Hunter like he wasn't sure what he was seeing. "You look older," he said finally. Hunter gave a wry smile. "You too." His eyes flicked to the scar lines on the man's face. "Rough times?" "Life," the man said simply. Hunter nodded. Then, "You remember those days? The YouTube videos, the live streams, playing Halo at 3 in the morning, making dumb memes about politics just to get views?" Relax chuckled dryly. "Of course I do. We were loud. We were stupid." He looked away toward the woods. "And we were everywhere." Hunter leaned out a little more now, voice lowering with urgency. "But Philip's back, and he wants to see you." Relax snorted, shaking his head. "Philip?" He spat into the snow. "That man's a ghost wrapped in ego. You really gonna tell me he's calling now? After years of radio silence? After missing 3 meetups? Flaking on collabs? Leaving us all hanging like we meant nothing?" His voice dropped, thick with bitterness. "I used to call him brother too. But a brother don't vanish for 5 years, then come back acting like Moses with the 10 Commandments." He kicked at a frozen rock with his boot and looked Hunter dead in the eye. "And Canada? Nah." He shook his head again. "Not crossing that border for any man, not even you." Then softer. "The world's done burning for old YouTube kings." A cold wind cut between them as snow began to fall heavier. Hunter just watched him, silent, for a long moment. Then he reached into the duffel bag and pulled out one thing, a USB drive wrapped in black tape, labeled in sharp red marker. "For Relax." "You don't have to go," Hunter said quietly, holding it out through the open window. "But you need to see this first." Relax hesitated, eyeing the drive like it might burn him. Then he slowly took it, holding it up. "What the hell exactly is on here?" "Tucker Carlson?" Relax said, voice low, then let out a sharp laugh.
You burned him.
Hunter didn't flinch. Philip had the plan. I held the torch. He stepped out of the Jeep slowly, hands open at his sides. "I'm not here just for nostalgia, Relax. I'm running. Cops, feds, they're already digging into McDonald's cameras in Cornwall." He pointed toward his duffel bag. "And that USB? It's got proof linking me to all of it." A pause. Snow fell between them like static. "Philip's offering sanctuary," Hunter continued, voice raw now. "But only if we rebuild what we had." He took one step forward. "The Chudinator initiative isn't a joke anymore. It's our way out, or our way under." And then, quietly, "You were always the heart of it." Relax stared at him, snow gathering on his coat shoulders. Then he looked down at that USB, buried in white. The wind howled through dead trees behind him, and somewhere deep inside, something old began to flicker again. Not belief, not loyalty, but memory. Two boys screaming into webcams, flags flying fake and proud, fire spreading faster than they ever dreamed. After a long silence, Relax turned and started walking toward the house. Without looking back, "Go warm up inside, then softer, and bring your damn stories with you." Snow crunched under his boots as Hunter hurried after Relax into his house. Warm air hit him like a wave, bringing the smells of wood and cigars and old beer. The house looked like someone had gutted the place, stripped down to just old couches, beat-up tables, half-assed decorations. There was a wood stove going in the back, but it only filled half the room with heat. The walls were covered in old news clippings, newspaper headlines, old campaign signs for old presidents. Hunter shivered, pulling his jacket tighter as snow melted off his boots. Relax walked over to an old flat-screen TV mounted on the wall, wires dangling like veins. He hit a button on the remote, and the screen flickered to life. Not YouTube, BunkerTube. A familiar sight, dark interface, far-right streams bleeding into each other like a fever dream. The video already loaded. Final moments of Tucker Carlson, full forensic breakdown. He pressed play. Grainy security footage filled the screen, first showing Hunter's shadowed figure approaching Tucker in a dimly lit parking garage. Then, the spray, quick and silent from an aerosol canister, flame erupting seconds later, engulfing everything in orange fire as screams echoed through speakers long past their prime. Relax didn't flinch, just stared. But when it cut to another clip, Jenny Hall's body being pulled from burning wreckage, wrapped in black tarp but face still visible, charred jaw slack, hair gone, one eye melted shut. Hunter looked away fast, throat tightening, but not fast enough. "That was real," Relax said quietly behind him. "Not livestream theater." He paused, voice dropping lower. "You don't get that kind of burn with gasoline. That was thermite-grade shit." His eyes locked onto Hunter's now, sharp and cold like steel filings. "Philip taught you how to make that?" The fire popped behind them, snow beat softly against broken window panes, and for the first time since crossing the border, Hunter felt seen. Hunter took a slow breath, hands clenched at his sides. "Yeah," he said. "He showed me." Relax held his gaze, his eyes narrow and steady. Then he nodded toward the screen again, voice sharp. "Keep it rolling." Hunter ran a hand through his hair, watching the video. "The Chudinator initiative," he explained quietly. "It started as a joke, just us, screaming online, spreading memes. Then the protests, the riots, it got big, too big." He fell silent. Relax just stared, and Hunter knew what he was thinking. How did they go from kids screaming into webcams to this? He took a breath. "But we pushed something we weren't ready for. We made the Chudinator a symbol, a movement. Not just anti-left, not just pro-freedom, but a revolution." He looked Relax in the eye. "It's not about politics anymore, it's about control, about power." "And Philip?" Relax asked slowly. "He's leading it now?" Hunter nodded. "He says the world is soft, and we're the fire that will harden it." The room fell silent except for crackling flames from the wood stove. Then, Relax laughed. A dry, hollow thing. "So let me get this straight," he said, crossing his arms. "You killed Tucker Carlson, you burned Jenny alive, and now you're here to recruit me into some underground Canadian cult that wants to harden America?" His voice rose slightly on harden. Hunter didn't blink. "It's already happening. Cells in Michigan, Ohio, even inside police departments, they're using our old videos as training material." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded map. Red circles drawn over cities. Minneapolis, Indianapolis, Atlanta, Philip calls them ignition points. Relax stared at him like he was speaking another language. And what do I do when I get there? He asked flatly. Wave a flag? Hold another live stream? Pretend we matter again? The words hung heavy between them. Snow still falling outside, screen still playing fire, silence pressing down like guilt itself. And then, very quietly, Hunter said, You don't have to believe in us. Just bring your rage back online. Relax stared for a long time. Something passed in his eyes before he turned, shutting off the screen. The room went dark again. I don't care about revolution, he said. I just want everyone to leave me the hell alone. He turned back, and Philip's got a funny way of doing that. Hunter didn't move. Maybe, but he can protect you. Relax's mouth flattened into a hard line. And you? Relax turned away slowly, reaching for the landline phone on the wall, old, black, with a coiled cord. I'm done, he said, voice flat. Whatever madness you're carrying, it dies here. Hunter stepped forward. Relax, listen to me. Philip said if we don't reunite by winter solstice, they're coming for all of us. Every old channel admin, every mod who ever ran a Chudnator meme page, they're marking them. Who? Relax snapped. The feds! The network! Hell, I don't know who exactly, but people are disappearing. He grabbed Relax's arm. You think this is just about survival? It's about legacy. About not letting them erase what we built, even if it was fire and noise and lies. Relax yanked free, hard, his eyes blazing now. We built nothing, Hunter, he roared. We spread hate under the cover of comedy, and look where it got us. His voice cracked on Jenny's name when he spat. She had family. Silence fell like snow in Gunfire's wake. Outside, the wind howled through broken eaves. Inside, the wood stove popped once, then again. Hunter stared at him, breath ragged, then quieter, then come for revenge. One word, join. But Relax was already dialing numbers into the phone, one digit at a time, and without looking up, he said, Get out. Hunter's chest felt like lead. The world was slipping away. He stepped forward again, grabbed Relax's shoulder, hard. Do what you want. Leave the Chudnator. But this isn't about some stupid meme anymore. Relax looked up, meeting his eye. This is about surviving. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Then Relax looked back to the phone, finger lingering over the last number, and pushed. Relax's fist came like a hammer, right across Hunter's jaw. Hunter stumbled, vision flashing white, and crashed to the floor in a daze. His head throbbed, blood seeped from his lip where it split on impact. Before he could move, Relax was over him. A drawer flew open. A pistol, black, heavy, slapped into Relax's hand. He stepped back, gun raised steady at Hunter's chest. I told you to leave, he growled. Now get out. Before I do something we both regret. On the counter behind him, the phone line clicked. 911, said a calm voice. What's your emergency? Relax didn't take his eyes off Hunter as he answered, Armed trespasser at my residence. White male, early 30s, wearing black, just attacked me. He paused, finger hovering over mute. Then softer. And if you were listening somewhere, Philip, this is what you made. The world tilted for Hunter. Blood dripped onto the old wooden floor. The cold bit through his clothes. Sirens would come soon. He knew it in his bones. And with them, not just cuffs, but end. Yet somehow, standing there under that gun in betrayal, one thought burned louder than fear. He had no one else left but Relax. And now even that was gone. The moment the gun clattered to the floor, Hunter lunged. Not for the weapon, for Relax. His fist smashed into Relax's ribs, once, twice, raw and desperate. Relax staggered back with a grunt, then swung hard, a wild hook that cracked against Hunter's temple. Both men were bleeding now. The fight was brutal, no skill, just years of rage and hurt unleashed in a storm of elbows, knees, grunts. They crashed into an old shelf. It shattered under them like brittle bone. Glass rained down as they rolled across splintered wood and dust. You always did this, Relax roared between punches. Destroy everything before it can leave you first. Hunter took a blow to the gut, but wrapped his arms around Relax's leg, tore him down hard onto concrete steps leading to a basement door. Pain flared, but he didn't stop. He scrambled toward the pistol, so did Relax. Fingers brushed metal. Then static from the drop phone on the floor. Sir, can you confirm your location? We've triangulated your call. Units are en route. Both men froze for half a breath, 1 second of silence beneath madness. Then Hunter grabbed it, flipped off speakerphone, held it tight, and in one motion, he smashed it against the wall until sparks flew and blackness came forever. No more voice, no more help coming, yet still, Help was on its way, whether heard or not. Outside, the snow fell heavier now, wind screaming through trees like alarms too far away, while inside 2 broken brothers stood apart, panting in bloodied silence, knowing what came next wouldn't be saved by words, or memories, or even fire itself. It would be decided by who could burn brighter, or die first trying. Relax surged forward, seizing him, lifting, spinning, then heaving him through the old window. Glass shattered. Hunter hit the snow, breathless, felt shards in his back. Relax was up, jumping out behind, grabbing him. They crashed down together, snow turning crimson as they struggled. Relax got the upper hand, pinning him, face to the ground. Hunter twisted one arm free, driving a savage elbow into his ribs. Relax grunted, lost his hold. Then they were up, spitting into the snow, circling. Relax charged, shoulder low, slamming straight at him. They hit again, both going back down, rolling. Snow stung his lips, filling his mouth. Relax's hand closed around his throat. Crushing, cold, cutting off any scream. He grabbed the hand, yanked it free, gasping. Relax tackled him, knee pinning his chest. Then he was straddling him. He gripped Relax's coat, shoved him off hard. They stood, breathing hard. Relax wiped blood from his mouth, took a staggering step forward. Hunter met it with a fist to the side of the head, then another. Relax staggered back, hand to his face. Then he charged again, like... They hit again, Relax slamming Hunter against the side of the house. He grabbed Relax's collar, shoving him back. But Relax twisted, using the motion to ram a knee into Hunter's side, sending him back against the wall. Hunter saw Relax lunge, fist cocked. He ducked under it, grabbed his other arm. It spun backwards with a snap. Relax roared in pain, and in the opening, Hunter snatched a long, jagged shard of glass from the edge of the broken window frame. Without hesitation, he slammed it into Relax's right shoulder. A sickening crunch, glass piercing leather, then flesh. Blood burst instantly, black in the moonlight as Relax howled, a raw animal scream that echoed through snow-laden pines. He staggered back, clutching at it, eyes wide with shock and fire, but still on his feet. Then he turned and swung a brutal left hook straight from hell itself. Hunter saw it coming too late. Crack. The punch landed clean across his jaw, teeth rattling in his skull. His vision whited out for a split second, knees buckled. He stumbled sideways into deep snow, gasping, trying to rise, but the cold seeped deeper now. Glass buried in both men. One body, one fight, no brothers anymore. Just survival screaming through frozen air, and sirens faintly howling somewhere beyond the trees. They stood, drenched in blood, snow falling on them like ash. Hunter could feel it now, that dull, throbbing agony. Every breath hurt. His jaw, probably broken. Relax clutched his shoulder, glass still jutting from the wound. His face twisted in pain, but his gaze never wavered. One good eye, one black like a frozen lake, a stare cold as the night itself. No hatred there, just fire. Just ruin. And in the silence between them, no breath, no sound but the soft crunch of snow beneath boots long ruined. They just stared. Hunter's lip was split, blood dripping down his chin. The cold made it burn. His nose might have been broken too, air whistling through one side. But worse than the pain, the silence. Relax wasn't screaming, wasn't moving in for another strike, just stood there, bleeding into his own coat collar, a man carved from old anger and newer regret. That shard still stuck in him like a cursed trophy. One brother with fire on his hands, one with glass in his flesh, both breathing slow now, not from strength, but from knowing. This fight had no winner, only survivors, if they were lucky enough to crawl away before the sirens found their names wrapped in smoke and flame. And still, after all that hate, after all that blood, neither could bring themselves to move for the kill, because somewhere beneath it, they were still kids laughing at bad memes. 2 voices on a cracked mic, ruling nothing but each other's loneliness. Until power twisted them, then silence broke them, and now this frozen ground bore witness. What began online, died offline, in snow and glass, and memory too deep to bury. Hunter slammed the glass in with one brutal motion, but Relax didn't fall. He roared, and shoved hard. The blow sent Hunter falling back into snow, glass shattering under his weight. For a second, neither moved, as snow fell soft between them. Then suddenly, Relax lunged forward again. Hunter barely saw it coming. Relax's fist collided with his face. Crack. He screamed this time, more pain than anything else, as something split open. He screamed this time, blood erupting from his nose, eyes tearing up as he scrambled back. Relax stood over him, Chest heaving, snow melting into the wound, blood soaking through his coat in thick, dark patches. But he was still standing. Hunter could see it now. Relax was dying. The glass shard in his shoulder, the wound across his chest, crimson blooming like ink in water with every breath, and yet, somehow, he stayed upright. You always were, Relax gasped between ragged breaths, so damn loud, he staggered. A hunter tried to rise again, muscles screaming, but couldn't. His face, broken jaw, crushed cartilage, it hurt too much to move. Pain wrapped around him like chains. But still, one thought burned, I can't die here. As if reading his mind, Relax took a final step forward, then collapsed into the snow. Not dead. Not yet. But fading fast, eyes fluttering beneath ice-cold skin, breath shallow and weak, fingers twitching against red-soaked earth. Silence returned, heavier than before, as two broken men lay apart on frozen ground. One broken inside, one breaking outside, and both knowing the world they tried to burn had burned them first. He hit the ground back first. Snow stung his eyes as Relax tore the glass out, first from his shoulder, then his chest. He roared, eyes streaming, but he could breathe again. Hunter saw his mouth moving, but all he heard was that thud against snow. Relax staggered forward. His hand fell onto his chest, covering the wound. Relax collapsed, but then, slowly, impossibly, he pushed himself back up. Snow clung to his eyelashes. Blood soaked the front of his coat in thick, dark waves. His breath came in ragged bursts, each one weaker than the last. Yet still, he stood. Hunter tried to focus, blinking through blood and tears, but everything swam. His head pulsed like a drum struck over and over. The world dimmed, brightened, then dimmed again. He saw shapes, shadows moving beyond the trees, or just dying light. Relax, he mumbled, voice broken, jaw shattered, more air than word. Then nothing but black for a long moment. When he woke again, Relax was kneeling beside him, not attacking, just staring down at him, at the mess they'd made, with eyes full of something worse than hate, grief. We were kids once, Relax whispered, voice raw as bone, just stupid damn kids with cameras. Snow fell softer now. The sirens were closer, faint but real, the sound cutting through forest like fate, finally arriving. Neither moved to fight it anymore. One broken beyond standing, one bleeding out on frozen earth, both realizing too late, no revolution would save them. No meme could resuscitate a soul this far gone, and so they stayed there, two brothers of fire and failure, as winter swallowed what was left. The engine broke the silence, sharp, clean. A black Mazda SUV glided into the lot, tires cutting fresh lines in snow. Philip's car, windows tinted, plate expired, Pennsylvania, Chudlord. The door opened, and out stepped Philip, coat flapping like a villain from some forgotten stream. Pale face, sharp grin, eyes alight with madness. He didn't run, didn't panic at the blood or sirens growing louder down the road. He just stood there and began to laugh. Low at first, then louder, until it echoed off trees like something unnatural had arrived on foot. Oh, this is beautiful. Hunter groaned in the snow, vision flickering, but he saw it clearly now. The smirk, the way Philip scanned them like trophies on a wall. You, Hunter tried to say. Why? Philip knelt beside him, close enough to smell his blood, and whispered, I needed one of you broken. His head tilted toward Relax, who still breathed, barely, chest rising in shallow shudders, but not dead. Then softer, and I needed you alive, but guilty as sin. Relax coughed, red spilling down his chin, eyes locking onto Philip's calm face. You, he choked out. This was you? Philip stood slowly, brushing snow from his sleeves as if arriving late to dinner instead of a massacre made by design. All those messages? My sanctuary? He smirked wider. Just kindling. He stepped over shattered glass toward Relax, and looked down at him with fake pity. Brothers fight best when they think they've been betrayed by each other, but when really, they were never fighting for themselves. A wind kicked up behind him, snow swirling around boots that hadn't bled once tonight. He didn't come here less than 2 minutes away. He came here, destroyed each other, narrated forever. And somewhere deep inside, beneath cracked bones and freezing hearts, Hunter finally understood. He didn't come here to save an old brotherhood. He came here to die for its myth. Hunter saw his chance. Philip stood over Relax, gloating, words dripping like poison, completely unaware. With the last of his strength, Hunter pushed up from the snow, blood blinded one eye, jaw shattered, body screaming. But he moved. One step, two, then he lunged. The shard, a long, curved dagger of broken window glass, came down in a wild arc aimed at Philip's skull. Philip turned just in time. Schlick. The glass didn't crush bone, It tore deep into his throat instead. Blood exploded, not in a spray, but a pulsing jet. As Philip staggered back, hands flying to the wound, eyes wide with shock and fury more than pain. Gurgling sounds ripped from him, half laughter, half rage, as red poured between his fingers like liquid fire. But he didn't fall. No scream came fully formed, only wet gasps, choked breaths. And then, one brutal step forward, he grabbed Hunter by the front of his coat, the man who once called him brother, and with pure adrenaline-fueled strength swung one final, devastating punch straight into the side of his skull, neck twisting, bones cracking, consciousness snapping like dry wood. And then, Hunter's body went limp as death itself, as he crashed backward into snow, motionless, face pale beneath blood and ice, not breathing. Or maybe breathing too faint to feel. Alive? Dead? It didn't matter now, because across from him, gurgling crimson bubbles forming on cracked lips, the fallen god stumbled too. Philip clutched at torn flesh where glass still dangled from jugular and windpipe, swaying, laughing through red-soaked teeth, even as death closed its fingers tight around them all. And above it all, the sirens finally screamed through forest edge, headlights piercing snowfall like judgment delayed but never denied. Two brothers broken by fire, one king made by lies, and only silence remained that truly spoke. No stream ever saved a soul. Relax saw it, the gurgle, the stumble, the weakness in Philip's stance, and somehow, through blood loss and shattered nerves and frozen limbs, he got up, one knee first, then the other, hands pressing into soaked snow like claws digging for life. He didn't speak, didn't scream, he just charged. A broken man, a ghost with glass in his chest, lunging forward like vengeance made flesh. Philip turned, eyes wide but too slow, too wounded. Relax slammed him down hard onto his back, skull cracked against ice-covered rock beneath the snow. Once? Twice? No, 3 times before he even thought to stop. Then came the boot, heavy. Frozen leather laced with iron will crunch into Philip's jaw. Once. Again, temple splitting open, blood mixing with melting snow and brain matter no longer whole. Relax kicked him again, and again. "You made us burn," he roared between gasps, voice raw as bone on fire. "We trusted you." On his knees now, he grabbed Philip by what was left of his hair, lifted that ruined face toward moonlight, breath shaking, voice trembling not from fear, but fury. "Say it," he growled, tears freezing on his cheeks. "Tell me why you did this, or I swear I'll kick your skull apart until there's nothing left to bury." And then, it came, gurgling, stuttering, but clear. "Not about freedom," Philip choked, face a mask of red ruin, as one eye swelled shut and foam burst from split lips. Shudinator never was. His voice cracked, one last whisper crawling out like something escaping hell. It was about power over men who believed in nothing, so they'd follow anyone who screamed loud enough. A weak chuckle bubbled up through blood. And now, hundreds are ready, cells rising, Canada is just phase 1, the network stays alive even if I don't. His head lolled back, half dead already. But Relax didn't care anymore what lived or died after that night. With a final cry, a scream ripped from every scar they all carried, he raised his boot high above what remained of that lying mouth, and brought it down once more, so hard the ground itself seemed to shudder. Snow flew upward in a crimson spray, silence fell where rage had burned, as 2 figures lay motionless in the throating by pain, and somewhere beyond them all, deep beneath Stream's long band, old videos began again on forgotten channels. Watch before you say no. All across screens black as hate, unseen fingers clicked play. The fire had won after all. Philip gurgled in the snow, a sickening sound halfway to death. "You don't get it." Relax crouched down and slammed a foot into his face. "You don't get to speak." His boot ground against Philip's head, cracking skull. Crack. He did it again. Crunch. "This is for every person you used, blood sprayed. For every channel you abandoned." Philip's hand trembled inside his coat pocket. Eyes stared up at Relax through broken bone, lips parted in a ruined, bloody smile. "Too late," he gurgled. "What?" Relax stared, chest heaving. "What do you mean?" A broken laugh bubbled up Philip's red-stained teeth as he slowly pulled his hand out of his pocket. He held something up. A small red button. Relax's face drained. No. The button was small, almost comical, but in that moment, Relax knew what it meant. The red button, no bigger than a coin, molded plastic with a single word stamped in black, ignition. Philip held it up, smiling, blood dripping from his shattered teeth as he wheezed. "You think..." Cough. red spray flying. This was about you? His eye twitched toward Hunter's motionless body. No, no, you were never the point. With the last of his breath, voice cracking like ice beneath weight, he whispered, I just needed two brothers to destroy each other on camera. So every lonely boy with a headset would finally believe they must fight too. Relax froze. Because far beyond that frozen lot, deep in abandoned basements, cracked apartments, dark corners behind gas station dumpsters, phones lit up at once. Dozens, hundreds, thousands, across Michigan, Ohio, Saskatchewan, Texas backwoods, and dead-end towns where hope died young, messages blinked. Chud, offensive initiated, ignition sequence active. Await command, or act in righteous fury. A countdown began somewhere beneath encrypted servers and pirate relays. Clocks ticking down not to bombs, but to violence unleashed by boys who felt nothing until someone told them to hate loud enough. And Philip, still half alive, head splitting open on snow-stained stone, smiled wider than ever before death took him for good, because as his fingers went slack and the red button tumbled into blood-melted snow, one final truth echoed through silence heavier than winter itself. The stream never ended, it only went viral when someone died for it. Behind them, the sirens screamed into the clearing now, lights flashing blue across glass, gore, and broken men. But no law could stop what had already been set loose. A fire born from pain, fed by lies, spreading fast, and somewhere deep online an unlisted livestream flickered to life. Title? Final broadcast, The Chudinator rises, viewers climbing, 1,000, 10,000, 50,000 souls watching frozen tragedy unfold, not grieved, not horrified, but leaning forward, headphones on, eyes wide, fists clenched, waiting for their turn to burn something down because they finally felt seen. Just like Hunter did, just like Relax did, just like Philip promised they would. And so, as winter swallowed 3 fallen kings into its white tomb, one thing became terrifyingly clear. The Chudinator initiative wasn't over, it had only just begun. Philip's face went slack in the snow as the red button dropped. His head lolled back, eyes stared upward at nothing. And as snow fell gently across his corpse, silence finally descended. For a long minute the three of us didn't move. Finally, the sound of a distant police siren shattered our tableau. The sirens came fast, red and blue slicing through the snow. Cars skidded into the lot, 3 cruisers, then an ambulance behind. Officers moved in hard, flashlights cutting across glass, blood, bodies. Contact! One yelled. Multiple down, another shouted. One's breathing! Over here! Relax didn't hear them clearly anymore. His body had given everything. The pain in his chest, the cold, his vision dimming like a screen losing signal. He collapsed forward, right onto Philip's frozen corpse, arms giving out beneath him as he sank face first into crimson snow, one hand still clenched around that broken shard of glass. As if even unconscious, he refused to let go of what had been taken from him. Paramedics rushed forward. Hunter was first, lifted gently despite massive head trauma, blood soaked half his face, no response to stimuli, critical but alive. Relax next, medics gasping at how much blood was already on and in the snow. He's lost over half, one said, shock setting in. They pulled him off Philip's body with care, peeled back layers of coat, saw both wounds. The chest puncture bleeding slow but deep, shoulder torn open by shattered glass. He's hanging on by willpower alone, muttered a paramedic. Last came Philip, rolled onto a backboard with gloved hands, flashlight revealing just how destroyed his skull was. Throat slit deep by glass, face pulped from repeated boot strikes. No pulse, said one officer after checking for 30 seconds. Then softly, we're gonna need homicide. As they loaded all 3, 1 dead, 2 dying, into ambulances under blinding lights and falling snow, something flickered across every responding cop's radio. A soft ping, then silence. Then text rolling silently across encrypted police chat logs. Ignition sequence active. No sender listed. No origin found. Just time ticking down, somewhere beneath the internet, where boys were now arming themselves, reading manifestos, lighting fires inside basements, because someone finally made them feel important enough to burn it all for. And miles away, in empty rooms lit only by glowing screens, young hands hovered over keyboards waiting for zero, for purpose, for rage fulfilled. Even as real men lay broken on ice-covered earth, the Chudinator lived on. Hospital lights stung. Relax opened his eyes to a white world. He lay in a bed of pressed sheets, a blanket pulled to his chest. His body throbbed. Every muscle, every nerve felt split open. His head ached, his eyes struggled to focus. An IV drip fed into his arm with slow, faint clicks. The heart monitor beside him beeped. Relax groaned. His eyes fluttered, everything blurry and unfocused. Then he saw him. Hunter lay still on the other bed. Tubes in both nostrils, IV in one arm, heart monitor beeping softly beside him. The TV was on too. An anchor blared. Unprecedented violence, hundreds dead in the past 12 hours, police overwhelmed, hospitals full, schools closed, cities in lockdown, national emergency, Canada under martial law, hundreds of militants rising across the country, hundreds more chud riots. Relax swallowed. His throat was sandpaper. He opened his mouth, tried to speak, couldn't find his voice. But one syllable got through. Hunter? His voice was cracked, raw, barely louder than a breath. Hunter didn't move, but his chest rose and fell, slow, steady, under the thin hospital blanket. One side of his face was still swollen shut. Tape held bandages in place across his jaw, the bones beneath shattered from Philip's final punch. A breathing tube had been removed hours before. He was on oxygen through nasal cannula now, air whistling faintly with each shallow breath. Relax watched him, watched the rise and fall, and for a moment, it wasn't about hate anymore. It wasn't about betrayal, or streams gone dark, or broken mics left in attics. It was just him. This man who'd once recorded horror shorts with him at 3 a.m., laughed until they cried. He called him bro when no one else did, now lying there, beaten to silence because of a lie dressed like revolution. Then, he turned back to the TV. The screen cut to live footage. Toronto, downtown in flames, buildings burning, police cars overturned. Masked figures marching under red banners with bold white text, Chudinator or bust. Some carried rifles, others waved flags stitched from old stream overlays and fan art banners since forgotten. A reporter ducked behind an ambulance. They're attacking all major infrastructure points. We've confirmed attacks in Ottawa, Montreal, even Vancouver. This appears coordinate. Another clip played. Security cam footage of teens storming an internet exchange hub with hammers. Text scrolled below. Over 270 cells activated globally. Relax closed his eyes, but couldn't block it out. Philip's words came rushing back. You were never the point. He opened them again, and looked at Hunter's motionless face one more time, at their shared past, their war, their blood spilled for something that never existed. Both survivors of a war that had only just begun. Blanketing cities already, burning beneath screens side by side, while two broken men lay side by side, neither whole. Both survivors of a war that had only just begun.